Hello friends, this is Self-Critical Automaton, and today we're heading back up into the undead... not the undead burg, the undead parish. Ah, you see, clunk. I did mention it has the same properties as the other lift, although in microcosm. And, yeah. Basically, today I'm going to try and make it up to the boss of this zone, the Belfry Gargoyles. The Belfry Gargoyles are one of... maybe I can phrase that a bit better. The Belfry Gargoyles are often thought of as the first really properly tough boss in Dark Souls. However, this is not the case in my opinion. To be perfectly frank, the Belfry Gargoyles are pretty easy to kill. In my opinion, the real first tough boss is the Capra Demon who lives downstairs. We'll be dealing with him later. At the moment, I just want to get rid of these guys so that, in case I need to run out here escaping something, I won't, you know, accidentally run into a bunch of hollows. Now, you may remember last time I started talking about what we can infer about Andre based on his appearance and location. It's clear he's a blacksmith. Like, that's his job, obviously. But the thing about Andre is that that's a tower. It's got no chimney. It's not a forge. And, you know, he's clearly alive. I mean, he might be cursed with the dark sign, but he's not a hollow. So, the question is, what's up with that? He mentions having been betrayed, so it's not impossible that he has fled some kind of bad situation. Now, when we were talking to old Solaire, Solaire mentioned that the time in Lordran is all messed up. Let's see if I can... Yes, I took the opportunity to go get a better spell. This is, what is it? It's Heavy Soul Arrow, which is basically Soul Arrow, but, you know, heavy. Dodge, dodge, dodge. No. Oh, well, okay, I guess he's just gonna stand there in front of me. That was lucky. Normally, he would have killed me there. The problem with Heavy Soul Arrow is that it's a much slower cast. It does significantly more damage though, which is good. So, what was he saying about Andre? Yeah, like, he's set up down there, but that's not a forge, so it's not where he clearly originally worked, it's not his home, it's not anything like that. So why is he there? I personally think that whatever betrayal happened a long time ago, which caused him to come on the quest of the chosen undead, because, as we've already learned, there is not merely the chosen undead, there are many chosen undead, and they all follow the same path. Now, what was I saying? Yes, Solaire. Solaire talks about the time in Lordran being all mixed up, which is kind of a strange thing to think about. But this is one of the many ways that the game folds its mechanics firmly into its lore. Why do the undead come back at bonfires? Because they are your save points. Why are they your save points? Because the undead come back at bonfires. That's sort of how it works. The thing about... this guy's always tricky because it's hard to fight him on a staircase. And he seems to know to do the pillar trick. It's not really a trick, I mean, you know. Prod. Prod. One more prod should do it. Oh no, that was close. If I hadn't had my shield up when I did that attack, he would have parried me, and then I'd be dead. Because their parries do an insane amount of damage, because they have rapiers and all thrusting weapons do bonus damage. So, back to what I was saying. The thing about... can he chase me down here? Yep, he can. I'll try and fight him around this corner so he can't magic me. Gotta worry about the other hollows as well, there's loads of them here. In fact, I think this is the first time I've had to fight this guy mano a mano. Not that I am a mano. Normally, I hide behind a pillar and shoot him full of arrows, because that's how I roll. Still. Rod. Rod. Backwards roll. Yeah, so the explanation for the game's multiplayer mechanics, people drifting in and out of your area of influence, for lack of a better term. Oh, whoops. Thought I killed him, I did not. Shit. Wow. Okay. Clearly, I need to remember my own advice. And that these guys are, pretty tough. Even the weakest enemies in the game, they're not tough. They are the weakest enemies in the game, and that means that I will underestimate them, and when I underestimate them, they will kill me. Also, the ideal weapon for this sort of fight, when you're fighting a bunch of these guys in a small space, is something with big sweeping attacks, so that you can hit a whole bunch of them at once. You know, if I'd been using a longsword, I could have dealt with them much more easily. So those hollows will respawn if I rest at the bonfire, but old Dave McTrident up here, he won't. Now what I really would like is to get a backstab on him, but I think he knows I'm here. So, best option is probably to run in and, you know... Oh shit, he can fly? That's new. I mean, it's not new, I didn't know. It is possible to dodge spells. It's not even that difficult if you know what you're doing. And of course I do know what I'm doing, because I played this game a whole bunch. So yeah, you notice he didn't dissolve into mist. That's going to be important, something I'll talk about later on. But yeah, he is a big weird guy. So that's most of the threats up here dealt with. Before I move on any further, I'm just going to grab this item. And, yeah, so, time is all messed up. I'll eventually get to the end of this point, eventually. And the thing about time being all messed up is that people fade in and out of one another's areas of influence, and that's the ghosts you see, that's people who come and help you. Wow! People who come and help you fight the bosses, people who try and invade you to steal your humanity, people who, whose bloodstains you find, people whose bells you hear, all of this stuff is the game's multiplayer component, but it's also accounted for within the mythology of this world. There are explanations for all of these things. You are catching tiny little pieces of... Notice this? This is a secret, we'll come back here in a minute. You are catching tiny little glances of other people's history, other people's stuff. And as will become clearer over time, it's not just that there is one chosen undead who's prophesized to perform some great task, and it's not even that there have been multiple, well, okay, that would be getting into spoilers territory, but it's not just that there are multiple people who have followed the same path, attempting to do the same thing. And my personal theory is that Andre is one of those people. However, he's given up on his task, and unlike everyone else who gives up on his task, instead of going hollow, he's found a different purpose for his life.
Still human, are you? Then I am in luck. Could you help me? As you can see, I am stuck without recourse.
So yeah, remember the mystery key? You gonna go? Come on, get up, up. Time to stop hiding in your cell. Now, we can talk to him again, but he won't say anything useful.
Sincerely, I am Knight Lautrec of Karim. I truly appreciate this, and I guarantee a reward. Only later.
Now, his armour, I have a lot to say about his armour, but we can't really get a good view of it here for the moment, so I can save that for later, but it's a really lovely piece of design. Now, he's going to stay here. We'll check up on him when he eventually turns up at the old Firelink Shrine, because most of the NPCs you meet actually do end up there eventually, aside from the ones you kill, of course. roly-poly. So, what's left? Not much. I could try and summon in some help, but I don't see any summon signs. And I should probably go and get my Estus flasks refilled. Oh, now last time I was talking about the iconography of this shrine, or altar I suppose is the word I should use. Now, we haven't met any references to it yet, but there is a certain member of the family of Gwyn. Gwyn's family are sort of the royal family of the gods. There are other gods that aren't members of his family, but Gwyn seems to be the boss god. He's a very sort of Jupiter, Zeus type figure, although without all the philandering. So, I have heard some theories that this is Velka, the goddess of justice and sin. But it seems more likely that the child, and a lot of people have argued this theory, that the child held is the unnamed war god, who was Gwyn's firstborn, and the figure is presumably his wife, or the mother thereof. There are, lots of different things to think about, but there's a very kind of, implication of a Christ metaphor with the men and beasts giving up homage to a woman carrying a baby, you know? There's very much all of the world will lay their heads at his feet, which doesn't tie in very much with what little we know about the nameless war god. So, I'm just going to run back to the bonfire and top up my Estus flasks and my spells, and then we're going to see if we can find another player to come and help us with the Belfry Gargoyles. They're not that difficult. I can take them on my own pretty easily, and I don't even need to because there is a Solaire summon sign nearby. There's quite a few NPCs you can summon in to help you in much the same way as you summon in other players. Solaire is only the most common. Well, I say the most common. He's the most frequently available. Well, zipping down this list, I should probably take a quick look at the item descriptions, since I've been meaning to do that for ages. The dark sign signifies an accursed undead. Those branded with it are reborn after death, but will one day lose their mind and go hollow. Death triggers the dark sign, which returns its bearer to the last bonfire rested at, but at the cost of all humanity and souls. Humanity. This black sprite is called humanity, but little is known about its true nature. If the soul is the source of all life, then what distinguishes the humanity we hold within ourselves? There is a lot of esoteric discussion in this game about the difference between the nature of the soul and the nature of humanity, and what they mean within the context of this fictional mythology. There is the Firekeeper soul. Each Firekeeper is a corporeal manifestation of her bonfire, and a draw for the humanity which is offered to her. Her soul is gnawed by infinite humanity and can boost the power of precious Estus flasks. So if we give that soul to a Firekeeper, she'll level up our Estus flask for us, but it's also quite interesting. The Firekeepers are tied to their bonfires very closely, but most bonfires no longer have a Firekeeper. That's why when you find them, they are out. It's the Firekeeper who keeps a bonfire lit. Another thing worth noting, I mentioned before, but oh look, see, there's a ghost over there. That's another player. The bonfire is made of bones. Now, the original root of the word bonfire is in fact bonefire, but I'll talk about that in a moment. First, the copper coin of Old Man Macloif, god of medicine and drink. The coins of great value in the world of men have little value in Lordran, where the accepted currency is souls. Rubbish, irrelevant. Now, the homeward bone. Bone fragment reduced to white ash, returned to last bonfire used for resting. Bonfires are fueled by the bones of undead. In rare cases, the strong urge of their previous owners to seek bonfires enchants their bones with a homeward instinct. There's some stuff I'm going to talk about later on, about the sort of the system by which things become magic is not a system of enchantment like you would get in most fantasy stories. It's not a wizard deciding to imbue an object with power. Things become imbued with power due to the associations of them. A hero's magic sword is not magic because of, you know, a wizard made it magic. A hero's magic sword is magic because of the mythic associations with that hero. And, so, that's basically what they're saying about the homeward bone, is that an undead who was particularly keen to go home, but didn't, you might find their bones, and if you find their bones and break their bones, that sort of scrap of power is released, returning you to the last place you were at home. So, yeah, I didn't see any summon signs here. That's a shame. This is usually a bit of a hotspot, but I suppose not many people are playing right now. Or I'm just not lucky. So, there's also the question of who these women are. All the statues are identical, and normally you'd just assume that that's sort of set dressing, but like I said, everything in Dark Souls is there to give you information. Now, I could run down the elevator and go get my Estus Flask leveled up, but I don't think I'm going to bother. Oh, forgot about this guy. Now, I should really have kindled that bonfire. You can burn your humanity in bonfires and they'll give you more Estus. Now, if you do that at a bonfire where there is a firekeeper... Oopsie daisy. Okay, I'm definitely going back to the bonfire since I just did that silly thing. What was I saying? Oh yeah, if you do that at a bonfire where there is a firekeeper, you are bequeathing her a part of your humanity. And there seems to be some kind of connection between the bonfires, implying that because they have an infinite well of humanity. I mean, that's presumably hyperbole, it's just that they have access to all of the humanity that's ever been sacrificed at that bonfire. When I talk about the worlds slipping in and out of one another, and different possibilities of different chosen undead and heroes going through this same journey, that's a little bit, it's a little bit more complex than that. Things are simultaneously connected and not connected. Your world is unique, but it's also just a different possibility of what all the other worlds were. I'm going to have to pop a humanity if I want to upgrade this bonfire. Where's my humanity? Ah, got 3, that's good enough. It's always worth kindling, because, well, certain bonfires are always worth kindling, but on the New Game Plus, you retain all kindled bonfires. So, yeah. But we'll be returning to this bonfire quite a bit, because it's an access to that fortress, and it's also an access down to Andre's basement. So, yeah, it's quite an important little Nexus bonfire. We are actually running close to being out of time, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear out the hollows between me and the boss, but I'm not actually going to fight the boss this episode. I spent far too much time rambling about mythic associations. Ah, yes, another item I had in my inventory, which I didn't read the description of, was the yellow pine resin, or gold pine resin rather, which is essentially this goo you put on your sword, and your sword becomes enchanted with lightning. Lightning is extra good against dragons. It's never really made clear why that is, but my personal feeling is that the lightning bolts of Gwyn will what ultimately cast down the dragons, ending their immortal reign in the time before the fire. So I think that essentially that same system strikes on through. The dragons, they fear lightning, because lightning is what destroyed their mastery. Similarly, the descendants of dragons fear lightning because it's what destroyed their ancestors. So yeah, that's not really relevant to anything, it's just a little note. Right, there's just those hollows to take care of, and I've got about 30 seconds before... I always try and make an episode around 20 minutes, so we're pushing up against minute 20, so I don't really want to fight the bosses and ring the bell right now. Although, maybe I should, I don't know. So yeah, like I said, I really should have I really should switch to the old broadsword for this bit. Not broadsword, longsword. But, since I haven't, oh well. Prod. Prod. Oh, that was close. You've got to be careful that you have enough endurance to be able to block an attack, because otherwise they'll knock your shield aside. As you saw happen a couple of times right there. I think I got all the items here. Can't remember any others that I've missed. Now, up here... Oh, look, another ghost. There's often people's names here as well, because this is right before the boss, so it's a bit of a hot spot. For some reason, I always think it's possible to summon in Knight Lautrec, the man in golden armour we met just a little while ago. And for some reason, I always think his summon sign is here, but it never is. So that just must be a weird thing in my brain. Yeah. On the other hand, though, here we have good old Solaire. So, this is where I am going to call it the end of this episode. Should I keep going? I don't know. Shrug. I will catch you guys tomorrow. Well, actually no, because today is Friday. But you could be watching this on any day for all I know. I mean, I don't assume everyone watches these the day I put them up. Anyway, that's enough rambling from me. Bye!